Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the In the Dark of the Night collection that's releasing tonight, September 29th at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So these were sent to me for review, and I'll link Night Owl Lacquer's storefront and social media down below. She will also be releasing Nightfall, the 1-year anniversary polish, but I'll do a separate post just for that polish. So I'll go ahead and get right into it. This collection consists of 6 new glossy, almost jelly-like creams and then 3 toppers. So the first of the creams is called Bite Me, and this is described as a blackened blood red cream inspired by vampires. This is such a beautiful, deep brick red. It does have that almost squishy kind of feel as all of these creams do, and it does dry down a super insanely glossy. So here's a quick look at that brush shot. You can kind of tell the transparency or the opacity here on the brush, and then I'll show you how Bite Me swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. I did feel like these were a little bit on the thinner side, so I'm not going to go super heavy or super thick. I didn't notice any pooling. I just want to be a little bit more on the conservative side. So this first coat does make for a nice base. It's really close to being completely opaque, but I did have some low spots and some nail line. So I'll show you how it built up for me with a second coat. This is just a nice easy second coat, and it does pull this polish pretty much completely opaque. I did notice later on during swatching some low spots, but you would have to be right up on it to notice that. So here's a look at that completed mani. I had 2 coats before, a glossy top coat, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle underneath artificial lighting. So next up is Don't Lose Your Head, and this is described as a blackened orange cream inspired by the Headless Horseman's pumpkin head. I totally got that just from the name. This is a beautiful kind of almost burnt orange shade, again with that super squishy, almost jelly formula. It's super flattering and super easy to use. So here's a quick look at that first easy coat. Again, this one does go on nice and smooth, really easy. It was a little bit sheer. I do have some nail line peeking out here. I think that these would almost be really cool to layer with glitters as well, because they do have that almost squishy finish. Here's a look at how it built up with that second coat, and it does pull this polish easily opaque with no issues at all. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Dead Inside, and this is described as a black and green cream inspired by zombies. So this is almost right on the edge of being a forest green in that same squishy but fully opaque formula. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Dead Inside swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one again is a little bit sheer, but we know it's going to build up pretty well. The first coat did go on nice and smooth, maybe a tiny bit streaky with some low spots there, but that could totally have been my application. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. I did notice that these do tend to dry a little bit darker than they apply, which I love. This second coat does bring this polish to full coverage with no issues. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. I did have a slight amount of skin staining, but it came right off with acetone with this polish. So next up is Howl at the Moon, and this is described as a dark gray cream inspired by werewolves. So this is a pretty cool toned, kind of mid-tone gray. It does have those beautiful flattering cool tones on my skin tone. I'll go ahead and show you a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Howl at the Moon swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. Again, this one goes on super smooth, really easy. I also wanted to mention that I am loving the new Night Owl Lacquer labels. They moved away from the foil into a more transparent label, which has made swatching a dream. So here's a look at that second coat. This one does feel maybe a little bit more creamy than the others, and it does go completely opaque in just 2 easy coats. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and then this is my swatch photo once more at an angle under that same lighting. So next up is just Creepin, and this is described as a blackened blue cream inspired by the Boogeyman. So as you can tell in the bottle, this is a very, very deep, almost a black navy. I think under different lighting sources, it may pull a little bit black, especially depending on how many coats you apply. So I'll go ahead and show you how just Creepin swatched on my natural nail. This color is super intense. I was worried about staining, so I am using my Cutica stain blocking base coat here. I didn't have any issues with it, but I also swatched it and then took it right off. So I think that's something you should be mindful of. With one thicker, careful single coat, I was able to get this polish completely opaque. I feel like if you want to go in for 2, that's absolutely okay. It's going to pull it just a little bit darker though, and I like that flash of brighter blue. So this is my final swatch photo at an angle underneath artificial lighting. So the last of the creams today is called Caulk Match, and this is described as a blackened purple cream inspired by witches. So this is a little bit of a deep grape purple polish, super gorgeous. Here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Caulk Match swatched on my natural nail. This was a little bit darker in the bottle, so I was worried about it being one of those deep purples that looks black, but that's not the case with this one. So it does go on nice and smooth, a little bit sheer here, so I'll let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. It does pull this polish pretty deep, but it was always purple even under all lighting sources, and it is completely opaque in just 2 coats. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same lighting. So next we're going to move on to the toppers. So first up is looking Shifty, and this is described as a topper with a gold to green to red chameleon shift. I did mostly get that green. I do have photos of all of the toppers over all of the creams. I have that available on my blog. So here's a quick look at that brush on, and then I'll show you how looking Shifty swatched today over a black base. So here you can see it does give a very strong green shift. It's super beautiful. I didn't have any issues with brush stroking. It's almost magic on the nail. At extreme angles, I was able to get a little bit of that pink, so this is my final swatch photo at an angle underneath artificial lighting. So the next topper today is called Potion Bubbles, and this is described as a topper packed full of various sizes of lime to gold and orange to green iridescent shifting glitters, and you're really going to get a different shift depending on what color you layer it over. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you how Potion Bubbles swatched over black today. This is my favorite combination. I really liked it over the dark blue and purple of the cream collection as well. You get just a full variety of all of those shifts. So here's a look at that completed mani at just 1 coat over black underneath artificial lighting, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same lighting. So the third topper I have today is called Just Like Magic, and this is the polish that's going to be a little bit more expensive in the collection. It is $9 where the others retail at $7, but it is amazing. It's a linear holographic topper. It is super intense, so it's going to silver out whatever you put it on, but you're going to have just a full linear holographic effect in one easy coat. So I'll go ahead and show you how it's swatched today for me over black, so you can see it does go on super smooth, really easy, and just insanely intense, and it's going to be that intense over any color. It's just going to silver down the base a little bit. So here's a look at that completed mani at just 1 coat over black underneath artificial lighting, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same lighting. And that does wrap up my swatch and review of the In the Dark of the Night collection. Again, these are releasing tonight, so if you're interested, I do definitely recommend hopping over to her website or social medias to check it out. If you're interested in seeing any more photos of any of these polishes, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.